what he said was totally tongue in cheek.
No,
100%.
hell no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
He's not smart enough to do tongue in cheek like that.
This is LA Kings Fan Talk with your boys, Rodney, Rob, Darren, and Joe.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome to another show. Well, the Kings took the Oilers the distance, but fell short in Game 7. Darren, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the series?
I mean, if you had told me coming into the season or whatever we'd take a playoff series to 7 games, I'd be pretty happy. The way it ended up, I was a little disappointed with the fact that we had 2 chances to win the series and couldn't close it out. But, I mean, it was short-term disappointment, long-term, I'll get over it, so.
Joe, what'd you think?
Yeah, obviously we wanted to win. When the Kings won Game 5, I was somewhat anxious to see them win in Game 6 so that we could come do this podcast and I could savor my prediction. But things happened and we got beat by the better team.
Rob, what'd you think?
Hold on. Sorry, Rob. We got beat by the better player.
True that. Just disappointed to be that close. You said after winning Game 5 at home, thought we actually had it when we came back, tied it up 2-2. We had the momentum. After we tied it up, and I thought, here it is. Part of our text thread, some negative energy came over our text thread right after we tied it. And I'm blaming that. I'm blaming that on the whole series. I don't want to call the guy's name out who was on the text thread, but they threw a little jab at me personally about Dano. And it's like, whoa, why are you calling him the greatest signing ever? We haven't won anything yet. It's only, and he goes, I just had to throw the jab. And that negative energy carried the rest of the game. We lose the game. We go to Edmonton. We lose it in Game 7. It's all his fault.
I got to go back and look at this thread because I don't remember who put that. I have a couple guesses, but I'll go back and check.
So it's like I said, I really thought we had it Game 6 when we tied it up. I was just going to be so happy. And like I said, there's a lot of major Twitter accounts that I was going to get banned from because I was going to troll them all. But because we lost, you have to swallow it. You have to swallow the pride and sit there and accept what reality is. And like Joe said, we lost to the better team. We lost to the better player. They beat us. They outplayed us in Game 7 when it really, really mattered. And there was nothing we could do about it.
Let me chime in real quick, just because I somewhat disagree with you, Rob, about the Game 6 situation. I was optimistic when they came back. Obviously, you wouldn't be. But that whole game, which basically transferred over to Game 7, just started out with nobody could connect 2 passes or a single pass. And so when they tied it up, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe Edmonton will cave in. But I think the Kings, really, they did lose to the better team because the better team wins. That's how it goes. But they had it in their hands and
so they beat themselves?
I just think they played 2 games where, you could tell there was a lot of white knuckles clutching sticks. Wasn't the team that showed up and won the 3 games that they did win. Put it that way. They weren't horrible in Game 7, but Game 6, I just thought it just started off bad and it just snowballed from there. But they gave themselves an opportunity to win, which they did not do in Game 7. So,
Right, and that's you saying you're disagreeing. That I feel like you're almost saying kind of what I'm saying. It started off bad game 6, but when you come back and you grab the momentum and you tie it up, and you're in the third period tied 2-2, the game's there for the winning.
agreed.
I don't
I'm
think
saying
we
what
I don't
they
think we had a chance in game 7. They completely dominated us in game 7.
Yep.
Right
fair
now,
enough.
and I was at Game 6, and that was probably the loudest the crowd has been in a very long time, and you could feel it. When they tied it up, everybody's like, "Here it comes! We're gonna do it!" Right? And the Oilers fans were getting ready to bounce early. You could see them getting ready to bounce out of there, but man, it sucks. It sucks because I was able to see Dustin Brown's last game, but it was a playoff loss, so bittersweet.
After the game, McClellan made some comments, and he spoke a little bit about the experience gained means nothing unless you know what to do with the experience. And I couldn't agree more with that statement too, because the experience I think that we have right now is a losing experience. So I don't want to be experienced in losing playoffs series in 7 games. I mean, that's not
That's a
something
Toronto
I
thing.
want to get good at, right? We want to be able to take the experience, see what it takes, understand there's got to be another level, and there's quite a few guys that have to raise their game if we're going to win playoff series moving forward. So I really hope the players, when he said that, I hope they understand and take it to heart, and there's work to do, because some of the young guys, they were deers in headlights and overmatched, and they better understand what it is.
For
Well,
sure.
they did come back after getting shelled 2 games in a row and put up 2 really, really good efforts. So, you know, I know, moral victories are somewhat meaningless, but it says something about the players there, you know. So give them that. It's unfortunate that they had him on the ropes and couldn't give him the final shot.
Let him off the hook.
Yep.
Hey, your boy Grunstrom, he did good though, Joe. I think he might have solidified his spot next season based on his playoff performance.
Which
100%.
is, if that's the case, is really ridiculous, because he played that way all season. But hey, credit to him for showing up in a couple of big moments. And yeah, I can only hope. At this point, if you're going to get rid of players and you get rid of him over some of the people that are underperforming, it'll be regrettable, I think.
Two words for Carl Gunstrom: power forward. He's it. He's going to take. He can take Dustin Brown's spot. Now that Dustin Brown's gone, I think he could fill in that spot. A guy that's going to go out there, throw his body around, play tough, get around the net, put some goals in. He has the skill. He's proved it all season, like you said, Joe.
Right.
I think he's got more skill than Brown, but less of the physicality. But still, he's a bigger guy, at least from visual appearances. I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah, I mean, I hate to be like Don Cherry and like talk about soft Euros and stuff. Like that guy is like not what you would consider your stereotypical European player, like with the flash and all that kind of stuff.
He's a Viking.
He just brings it, like everything is. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not a player guy, but I do like him as a player. So
that's what this podcast is for, Joe. It's to sit here and be a fan of whomever you want to be a fan of, and for any reason. So,
well, I'm a Gunstrom fan.
You sort of look like Gunstrom a little
bit. Little age progression going on, but yeah.
You look like a Viking yourself.
Similar complexion. Yeah. More gray hair.
Is there anybody you were disappointed in as far as individually on the Kings?
I don't think it's hard. I don't think disappointment's the right word, but I think it sucks that Byfield only got 3 games. Like, I'm surprised he didn't get in one more game. I know we were winning towards the end there, but he's one of the guys who we need to get some playoff experience, put him out there, and I don't think I don't remember too many glaring mistakes, but he also was among that fourth line that only played 7-8 minutes a night when he did play. So it'd be nice to see him get out there. But I don't think it's a disappointment. Like, I don't think I think it just sucks he didn't get more time out there.
I don't know. He still kind of looked a little deer in headlights to me.
Yeah,
But
I think it's not so much to be a disappointment. You know what I mean? Because like he's still young. Like you expect that a little bit, but like it sucks he only got 3 games out of a 7-game series.
I was hoping to see more out of Velarde too after the way he finished the season.
True,
but didn't really make an impact at all in the short amount of time he was in.
Yeah, I don't think either of those guys deserve to be in the lineup. So I would say like I wasn't really disappointed in anybody. It was for me, it's like all positives. Like there was nobody that like shit the bed, put it that way. I mean,
wait, Joe, let me guess. You wanted to roll 7 defensemen and roll Gunstrom on 2 lines, right?
Absolutely not. Which, yeah, we'll probably talk about Edmonton later, but they're basically an NBA team. Like they're assembled like an NBA team. They got 2 really good players that do all the heavy lifting. But back to the Kings, like if there was a disappointment, I'd say Lemieux. Just he scored a huge goal. So and he was also not given very much ice time. But the time he was out there, you expect him to wreak havoc and create a storm. And I thought Cassian did a way better job of that from the Edmonton perspective. And those are things all within his control. He could have gone and whacked people in the back of the leg every time there's a scrum from the net, just like Cassian did. But, it is what it is. I don't know that would have won any games for the Kings, but
I think he played a lot like he didn't want to get on the wrong side of McClellan. He wanted to stay.
Probably.
He didn't want to push the envelope and get pulled out of the lineup for taking a bad penalty.
Or didn't want to be the reason we lost because he took the bad penalty, right?
I think there was a lot of players in that position. So.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Like I think it's one of those things where like you want him to have the confidence to just like go. Like you're not going to get yanked if you can't take too many bad penalties, but if you take one stupid penalty and learn from it, but you're going to play right to the line every time, that's fine.
What do you guys think about Dursey and Anderson?
Thought Anderson did good at the beginning of the series. Kind of, I think they started to really target him towards the end of the series, and I think that kind of had an impact. But I mean, really, like when you look at like the way that Edmonton won their games, they won their games because they have the best player in the world. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier. If you watch, I was watching the first period of the Colorado St. Louis series. Those are teams. Those are not. It's not McKinnon winning the game. You got 3-4 lines rolling that are just wreaking havoc. The speed of it and whatnot. So, not to shit on Edmonton, but they're not going anywhere when you look at that. Which is why I knew this was the Kings' version of the Stanley Cup for 2022 was just to beat the Oilers. Right. And we took them to 7 games. So I think we can pat ourselves in the back or feel somewhat good about that. Edmonton, on the other hand, they were expected to roll over the Kings, and that didn't happen. So,
what do you think, Rob?
I don't know. It's hard to sit here and pick on Anderson and Dursey because the effort was there, but when you're putting in effort against God's gift. Right. I mean, it's just sickening. He's sickening the way he plays. He's just so damn good. So am I pissed that they were both -5 as a defensive pairing, for the series? Or are we happy that they weren't -10?
Right.
They
probably would have been if Deneau wasn't playing against them so much.
Kopi struggled, obviously, because he got matched up a lot out there with them, and
he got tired.
He looked tired. Yeah.
Towards the end of the series. He was good like the first few games, but yeah, he ran out of gas. You could tell.
I'll tell you where it kind of turned a little bit when Nurse got suspended. I had the thought of, shoot, I don't necessarily want him out of the lineup because he's part of the chaos that that leads to them not playing very good hockey. When he's willy-nilly and taking dumb penalties or just trying to do things that I don't think he has the skill set to do. I thought we capitalized. He was one of the people that we kind of picked on a little bit that kind of turned some games around for us. And when they in that game 6, they played some good defense. Like it seemed McDavid decided, oh shit, I gotta pick up my back checking. I got to start playing a little better here. Hold on to the puck. They can't play offense if I have the puck.
You started checking some people. Actually, I was like,
yeah,
oh.
And so when he came out, and I don't know if I'm just imagining that, but it seems they actually played a little better in game 6 without Nurse, and then moving into game 7, they go, ooh, let's keep that formula and maybe get Nurse to figure the out. And and they and like I said, I think that we got kind of pushed around in 7, just a little embarrassing. But
you could definitely tell that. Like I think after game 3, Edmonton was kind of like, oh, this is going to be an easy series. So like they kind of were willing to play that open style. And I think after they lost 4 and 5, they realized like, no, if we can play the Kings game better than the Kings because we have 97. Like if we just play low event hockey,
of course,
and you have the best player in the world, like you guys have said, like when you have a guy who's going to convert 1 out of 5 chances he gets probably or more, and you limit the number of chances both teams are getting, you're going to win those games. So like
why the hell were we so bad in the faceoff circle? We've been so good all year.
Yeah, our top faceoff guys were not looking good. I did not get it.
I think we were in that game 6 and 7 we were really bad, right?
I think the only guy winning faceoffs for us was Kupari, who's not even normally a good faceoff guy. It's really weird.
And that's important, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah,
especially against the Oilers, puck possession team.
Especially for our team, which is that kind of team where it's grinded out. We need that possession to start. We don't get the puck very well.
What do you guys think about the middle guys, the guys that had been there for 4 or 5 years? Iafallo, Kempe. You guys think they did okay, or are you a little disappointed there with either one of those two?
I think for Kempe, you wish he had been a little bit more consistent. I know he had that 3-point game in game 5, but it's like he had 5 points in the series or something like that. 6.
6, yeah.
So
half of them were in that one game.
Right, and so it's like you would wish he would, get a couple more points throughout the series. Not that he's going to match McDavid or Draisaitl, but if he can match Kane, you know what I mean? Like, we probably win that series. But as far as Iafallo, I think he was hurt because I think that's why he got demoted to the 4th line.
You think he's one of those separated shoulder guys?
Yeah, 100%. Because in his post-season interview thing, he said like his shoulder was the only thing that was bugging him.
Because then, like, when that series is going on, I'm like, all right, let's trade Iafallo. I was done with him. Just got nothing out of him. I'm like, these rookies are coming up, outplaying him. I don't know. That was just me. I don't know what you guys think.
He may be a salary cap casualty kind of guy if we're gonna make a move for some big names. Like he may be the guy who we move with some of the kids. So,
well, I'm not gonna. I don't want to turn this into why we lost.
No.
Kind of pick on who didn't score because there's a ton of people that didn't score, and I think there's lots of excuses of why. So I think we're just gonna spin our tires. But Danault and Gunstrom, if they're your 2 leading scorers in the series, that means a lot of people didn't step up. Because Danault, I don't care what people are saying about his offensive upside, blah, blah, blah. He came here to be a shutdown second-line center. He shouldn't be leading us in goals scored.
Right.
Tied with Carl Gunstrom, who played 14 minutes a game. Gunstrom wasn't a first, second line guy for us. And those are our 2 guys that scored 3 goals apiece. I would have liked to have seen Kempe score 4 goals. I would like to have seen Trevor Moore score 4 goals. You know, I would like to have seen Kopitar score. You know, but Kopitar can't score if he's chasing McDavid every single minute of the game.
Right.
It's just so hard to. So that's why I'm saying I don't want to bitch and complain about it, because it's like in the movie Airplane when that little kid kept bugging about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He says, "Hey, you tell your dad to drag Bill Walton up and down the court for 30 minutes, see how good he does." You know.
Airplane. What is that? Like an old black and white movie? What is it?
Yeah, it is. I just dated myself, right?
No, I think like we're all kind of beating around the bush here, and to use another catchphrase, the elephant in the room here. It's the power play. Like if the Kings would have scored a power play goal on game 6, they would have won the series, right? I think, from my recollection. So that, but that's not surprising. But that's when you start pointing fingers in every direction. So, and that's not an individual effort; it's a team and a coaching effort.
True.
And that really could have been the difference in the series. Particularly even like game 7, from my recollection too, because they were only down 1-0 and they had opportunities and they could not bury one. So, you know, if they got a goal on a power play and they had it tied, you know, who knows what happens, but like that's really like the root of it. Like the Kings could only get their goals from 5-on-5, and you know, if you know Kepi doesn't, you know, the two guys we were talking about before, you know, if Iafalo's hurt, whatever, that's a legitimate reason why. But regardless, 5-on-5, you can't expect like guys to just like produce overwhelmingly. Like, at least not those guys. Like maybe Kempe more than Iafalo. You need some help, a boost from the special teams.
I think the other thing too is like Edmonton kind of started gooning it up towards game 4 and 5, and I think it was because they were not afraid of our power play. They were like,
Correct.
"You're not going to make us pay for it, so we're just going to cross-check you in the back. Like, what does it matter? You're going to spend 2 minutes passing around the zone."
And that'll be the difference for them next series when they're playing the Flames.
When Tkachuk actually punches him in the face.
Okay, no, it'll be Lucci. Cassian will not go around running people into the boards, and that was his sole purpose. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hit 5 times on this one.
What about how many times? I don't know how much you were paying attention to him, but how many times did that guy whack somebody in the back on the calf?
No
in
call.
A scrum, like just no call, but it's just blatant, like and like. And none of our guys did anything about it.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's what Darren is saying. He can, because even if he does get called, which he wasn't getting called, if he gets called, their Kings are going to score anyway. So what are they going to do about it? They can't do anything on the power play, and they don't have any tough guy to come and tell me to stop. Next series again, Lucic will put a stop to that for them.
For sure.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Even Tkachuk, as much as I hate him, like
Tkachuk will just do it dirtier.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he'll be the guy whacking somebody in the back of the legs.
Yeah,
and let somebody answer the bell for him, unless it's somebody that's smaller than him. Then maybe he will.
Calgary definitely won't take as much shit as the Kings did, and even if they do, they'll actually score on the power play. So
and if we got any Edmonton fans that are going to actually take a look at this, whatever. To be honest with you, if you end up beating the Flames, I'll root for you being a Pacific Division. It'd be nice to see the Pacific Division represented in the Stanley Cup Finals, you know. But I'm still holding true to
finals.
What's
they're
that?
They're conference finals. There's no way they're getting into the Stanley Cup. There's no way. I don't care. I'll bet any Edmonton fan that's watching this whatever sum of money that I can afford.
Tell them at you on your Twitter handle.
I don't have Twitter, so
well, that's convenient.
No, just respond on the comments down below.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'll try to. I don't know if you can send messages through YouTube or whatnot, but I'll post my email address there if somebody actually responds. The Edmonton Oilers are not making the Stanley Cup Finals or winning the Stanley Cup this year. Guarantee it. And that's not me being a hater.
You could probably just say the first part without the second part, but.
Well, all right, fair enough. I don't know if somebody wants to get wild.
They're either not doing this or they're not doing that. You know what? There was a lot of positives though. Like as far as some players, like I thought, other than that one time Roy got beat pretty bad, he he was solid all series. I thought Stetcher, when he got put in there, stepped up.
Obviously.
Who saw that coming? I don't know.
Obviously, yeah.
Quick.
Those are layups to say that he did good.
And quick back to his old self,
Yeah, that's really kind of flying under the radar there. They were talking about stats, like I don't know if it was Spit and Chicklets guys or whoever was talking about stats. And like, Quick's got an 80 save percentage. I'm like, well, yeah, but you're factoring in like 2 blowout losses and whatnot. Like, that's the thing is like John Quick's never had like a big the greatest save percentage. It's all about the eye test. Like, the guy makes saves when it matters the most. I mean, the Kings get shelled in some of those games, and he's standing on his head. Like, I think Game 7, I made a joke to Adriana's cousin, like, he's new to hockey. I'm like, did you see him right there? He was breakdancing. Like, he literally, like, spun around, did, like, a ninja kick, like, on a, cross-ice pass. I don't know if it was a power play or what, but anyways.
When we first started this podcast thing at the very beginning of this season, I confessed my undying love to Arthur Kaliev, and since I'm his daddy, I'm gonna also call him out. That God, going pointless. He played all 7 games. Granted, it was under 12 minutes a game. He went pointless. It was just I wished he just played a little better. That's all. I just feel since we're calling guys talking about who disappointed us, who didn't do well, whatnot.
Yeah, and he played on the power play too, right?
Yeah.
So I would agree with you on that. That was one guy that definitely stood out as somewhat of a disappointment. I mean, he's a rookie, so
right.
How much can you expect from him? But
right.
But yeah, I mean, getting like those the power play. I mean, just like he had that one shot. I think Kopitar gave him like a 3-foot pass, and he one-timed it.
I know exactly what
I'm
you're
like,
talking about.
Here we go. They kind of figured it out a little bit. Like, just make that short pass, get a good shot on net from the guys that have a shot, Kempe or him. And I mean, God, man, Kopitar trying to force feed that pass to Kempe. I mean, that's such a hard play to make, anyways. Like, Kopitar's on the what would be like your left point, and he's trying to pass all the way over the right wing to Kempe, and it's like the Oilers would just leave that seam open. All of a sudden, you see a stick there, and I'm like, just stop! You got to find something new. So
right. Especially against a guy like Smith, who plays so deep in his net. That's tough. But that's why I was saying it kind of soft in my soft voice about Kaliev, because he's 20 years old. He's just new to the thing, and I just, like I said, my expectations weren't so high because he's a rookie, 20 years old. But still, he does have an elite shot. I still say there's an elite hockey player inside of him. I was just hoping it would come out this year. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the same thing with Byfield, I think, in my eyes. Like, you wanted more out of him, but it's not a capital D disappointment. It's a lowercase d disappointment. Like, I think Blake said it. He was like, we have all these guys. Like, we have so many guys who could still be in the OHL if they weren't on the Kings right now. Like, that's how young some of these guys are. So, like,
speaking of other leagues, if the Kings would have called up Ferk for Game 6, would have scored in the power play. Would be talking about round 2 right now, right, boys?
I think that ship's officially sailed. But, no, I was going to say, with like Byfield and Velarde, they got 2 guys ahead of them, between Kopitar and Deneau that are going to take those. Deneau's maybe more in a defensive role, but those guys really are going to have to earn their ice time. So, if they were on, whoever was an awful team this year, can't think of one off the Ducks. If they were on the Ducks, they get, you're going to get a lot more ice time. I don't know. Like, Byfield, nothing really ever impressed me. He had like spurts or whatever. Velarde is, unfortunately, looks like a player that's not going to be an NHL player. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he will. He just does not have the legs. Certainly has the skill, the hands and all that stuff. But I mean, you got other people that are playing in those third and fourth line center roles that, you don't necessarily need like that top end skill set. You need other things from them, and I don't think either Byfield or Velarde really had that. Although I think they were playing Velarde on the wing anyways, but I don't think either of them had anything to offer that on the consistency. I guess is probably the biggest issue. Like, I think it's good that Byfield got a couple of playoff games in. I don't think he deserved more. I don't think he did anything like to warrant it. And Velarde, like same thing. It's like you got other players that are, that you can put Velarde in for Lemieux. Okay, cool. But Lemieux's actually gonna go rip somebody's head off if shit goes sideways. So, I don't know. I'll stop rambling.
So Velarde with Athanasio's legs, that'd be a good player.
Absolutely. Honestly, that's all Velarde's missing is he just does not have that first or second stride. Like on the wall in the zone, like all those, he makes incredible plays, like where he's barely moving or standing still, poke a puck from somebody, that sort of thing. Very shifty, and uses his size well too. Doesn't get pushed off the puck or whatever. He just doesn't have the third, fourth gear to get him into the offensive zone or on a rush or that sort of thing, or just to break away from a defensive player.
What do you guys think about our senior citizens? Dustin Brown, Edler. I thought Brown played pretty decent. Got a little physical in a few of the games there.
Yeah, I
had
think
a couple chances where I
like,
thought he was going to score. It came close.
There's a couple chances that I thought he was going to score, and there's a couple passes he flubbed like everyone else. But I think you could see he stepped up that physical game. I think Edler was fine for the most part. I mean, I think like all of our defensemen, you're going to get torched by McDavid every once in a while. And I think we touched on it a little bit. I mean, I don't know if we're counting Kopitar and the elder statesman, but you guys said, he looked a little tired, and it's hard to, again, you're chasing around 97. Like, that's where part of that like depth scoring needs to come in, and we didn't get any of that.
Would any of you guys say that Kopitar should be our number one center next year? Or should he be number 2 or number 3? Should he be 3 behind Deneau, and then we bring in a top-end center?
No.
I think he should just have his ice time cut.
How do you do that if he's the number 1 center? How do you do that?
We'll just distribute it more evenly throughout the other lines.
Well, what I have to say about that is he led the team in scoring again.
Yeah.
The reason why he's our number 1 setter is because he's our number 1 producer, whether we like it or not.
Right. But is that the reason he was super tired in the playoffs? Because he played so much in the regular season?
I don't know, but are we gonna demote a guy to third line when he was like by far? I mean, he scored.
I don't think anybody's saying
points.
that.
I don't think. I think if anything, you hope that like maybe instead of taking first or second shift on the penalty kill, he takes a third shift. Like he's gonna get maybe a minute less ice time per game with a little bit less maybe his defensive responsibility, since he is still our leading scorer and he's able to still produce.
Maybe second power play unit.
Right, and I'm okay with all that. I'm okay with him,
but he's still a top tier.
I think it's more. I want somebody to step up and like become the top scorer.
Does it hurt the team to make him not a penalty killer? But he's our top face-off guy, second top face-off guy. He's defensive minded. He's an excellent penalty killer. But do we need him to penalty kill?
No, we don't.
That'll save a minute or two a game.
Yeah, that will.
And like you said, move him to the second power play unit. There's another minute. You could cut a couple minutes off of his time on ice, and it'll add up over a season.
Even though he's our top goal scorer, he would not be close to top goal scorer on a lot of teams. Yeah. So we just need to score more goals.
But that's up for argument. You're gonna let him. You're gonna center him with Pasternak and Marchand, and you're gonna tell me he's not gonna be a top goal scorer, a point getter. He could produce as much as Bergeron.
100%. I think it's like it's one of those things where coming into next season, I would like for them to almost kind of like what they did with Quick this season, where it's like play him a little bit less than he probably wants to, and then in the playoffs we can ramp it up again. Keep him fresh, like, you know, and obviously like things will change as the season goes. And if he plays 22 minutes a couple of games, it's not a big deal. But if he plays 20 minutes most nights, that's probably ideal. So I don't know. I plus the other thing is like who you getting as a number one center. Like,
so here's a question for you: what centers out there? And I'm not saying there aren't any. I'm sure there's a big list. But what centers out there can center Kempe and Kempe score 35 goals in a season?
Yeah, that's fair. Who knows? I mean, that's like hard to really answer because, you know, the sample size of his career is so small and he's still growing, obviously, as a player. But I think like all I was trying to say, and I don't think you were disagreeing, or I think we're all kind of in agreement. He doesn't have to become a second or third line center. Call it whatever the hell you want. Just cut his ice time, spread it out more evenly. I mean, like, I think the biggest problem is like when you're playing your fourth line, like 7-8 minutes a night, there's got to be more value on that fourth line. Somebody should be able to penalty kill. Somebody you should be able to spread it around. I understand playing Kopitar those minutes in the playoffs, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily a factor. Is what happened how much he played all season. I don't know how much that actually wears on a person, but when you're playing in the playoffs, and you could tell that he's legitimately tired, but at that point, that's when you don't really have options. So I just wish there was a little bit more of an exploratory or experimental lineup movement throughout the year instead of like riding him to get to the playoffs and then, you know, not I don't even know that that's necessarily what happens either. Like, that's the thing is like people bitch about this online about him being played too much and stuff, but if I were the coach, like, you're going to go to the guys that you can rely on. But my point is, when you watch the playoffs, I mean, and even towards the end of the season, Kopitar has clearly lost a step. It's sad to say that, but over this year, just making plays that he didn't make, or not making plays that he made before, and making mistakes. You know, he's such a robot that you know, you just expect, you know what you get out of him like every shift, and yeah. When he loses that extra dynamic to create offense or to change a game, you got to look elsewhere. You know, like.
Yeah. I mean, and you're hoping that like a guy like Byfield is gonna grow in this offseason and he can be a third line center, and so you can move Lizotte down, and so you have a guy who you can trust at that fourth line, like you're just saying, to kill penalties, and Byfield can hopefully step it up. Like that's
Exactly.
the hope. So,
And I'll get to that in a little bit, but just real quick, some stats for you. Kopitar this year played 20 minutes, 46 seconds a game, time on ice. That's less than a minute less than he has in the past couple seasons. You know, so he's 21 plus minutes in the other season. So he did tick down a little bit. But when you go get a guy like Danault's way down there at 1807. He's very capable of taking over an extra minute or two from Kopitar, and why not? You know, why not give it to him? But when you look at time on ice leaders for our team, it is Doughty, Roy, Kopitar, Anderson, Spence, Dursey. You go through 5 defensemen, and Kopitar, it's a heavy workload that he did all season.
It is, so, and why not use that second power play unit every once in a while instead of doing 2-minute power plays with that first unit?
Yeah, it adds
gears. Grinds my gears.
Yeah, and if you have him on the penalty kill and you need him in a defensive zone draw, if you win the draw and you clear it, change it immediately.
Oh, and well, I'm also onto that. Is you take a guy like Kupari with good speed and is physical enough. You take a guy like Danault and even Lizotte. I like Lizotte as a penalty killer. Those are 3 capable centers to.
Oh, are you forecasting a trade there? What was that? Was that like a little?
No.
Who's getting traded? What's going on?
So penalty. I think you can remove him from the penalty kill and still be okay because we got capable guys that can do it.
I think so.
For sure.
You're welcome, Coach,
Yeah.
if he's listening.
That's going to be tough. I hate seeing guys get fired.
Well, you think he's gonna get fired?
Sturm?
Oh, yeah.
Marco Sturm? He's the special teams coach.
Yeah. No, I thought you were talking about McClellan.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Which, yeah,
McClellan's not going
I was saying, like, there's no way he's going anywhere. I mean, with the season they had, like, I have like plenty of complaints about him, but like people are like, "Oh, go get Barry Trotz." I'm like, come on, like, yeah. Again, you got to see out the last year of McClellan. If they're the same team next year, like a competitive team and whatnot, reevaluate from there. If they're awful next year, yeah, can.
Are the Kings almost forced to fire like a Sturm, have a fall guy, as opposed to blaming the players? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think you can fire Sturm in the offseason and hopefully still upgrade the players too. I mean, there's a couple of roster spots that could be open, especially with some of the older guys not being re-signed or retiring, like Brown and Edler Mata. Like, there's guys we can bring in to hopefully improve both sides of our special teams.
All right, so let's talk about the exit interviews. I think Blake was talking about bringing in more toughness, more size,
More scoring.
which is what we've been talking about all year.
Yep. I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, I think the obvious candidate is the guy who I said they should have traded for last offseason if he was available. That's Forsberg, but it's gonna be hard to fit him under what people project his contract to be. So that'll be fun. We'd have to make some moves, I think, to sign him. But
I just saw something. I don't know if it was a joke or not. I think I was looking at. I don't know what the hell I was looking at, but what's his name? Malkin and Letang being offered. Like, is that real?
I think like $5 million over 3 years.
Yeah, $15 million for 3
And
years.
Crosby was not happy about that or something.
Yeah.
So they might be available, both Letang and Malkin. I think we would have Letang on our team. Ish.
yeah, we don't need any more right Ds.
Yeah.
I think we have like 6.
I think moving forward, I think we stand pat defensively.
Yeah, unless we're bringing in a left-handed D. But as far as, we're really strong on the right-handed side.
The other thing too is like when I don't think none of us mentioned you were missing Arvidsson the whole series. So
Well, really, I did want to ask you guys this: if we had Arvidsson, Doughty, and even Walker in that series, are we talking about round 2 right now?
I think so. I mean,
I think it's a possibility for sure. I think probably Arvidsson more than Doughty because I think the team defensively held their own. I mean, obviously they shelled those 2 games, but I think they played pretty good team defense. Yeah, Doughty might have helped potentially defensively and on the power play.
And that's power play.
Yeah. But yeah, Arvidsson also, like, it just gives you more depth, both of them, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I think Coach was saying when the season started, it was Doughty running the first power play unit, Walker running the second power play unit, and early in the season they're both gone, and it's
Yeah, and those are things I don't even think about. So they're gonna sit here and like shit on them. It's like that is a variable that you have to factor in like when you're criticizing all this stuff.
But
the bottom line is Key's got a lot of options, a lot of depth right now. Not initially high end talent, whatever. The good thing is they have decisions to make. I mean, there's guys that they're going to lose that might go on to be good players on other teams, and that's way more than I could ask for out of this season. Plus all those free agents earning their paychecks. The 3 that they signed, Deneau, Arvidsson, and Edler. All 3 of those guys were huge contributors this season, and 2 of the 3 in the playoffs. So.
Yep.
Future is definitely bright.
Well, part of bringing in other guys, we got to figure out what our cap situation is going to be, because there are some RFAs that I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to keep. Grunstrom's an RFA. Obviously, Kempy's going to get a major pay raise. He's an RFA. Brendan Lemieux's an RFA this year. Mikey Anderson's an RFA, and so Sean Dursey. That's a lot. Yeah, they're not going to. They're RFAs. There's some cap issues as far as how much they can get raises and stuff like that. But that's a lot of guys that I think we want to keep. And if we're keeping them all and all of them are getting pay raises, that really, really starts messing with who we can go out and get as far as what's available.
Another reason to trade Iafallo, free up some cap space.
Yeah.
He does all the little things. Where did that get us?
And by the way,
too, is you can trade Walker. But
Velarde, Elias Anderson, and Jacob Mouvre are all RFAs.
Yeah, we have a lot. Well. Like, it's gonna be like we could fill out the rest of the roster and still throw guys into Ontario with how many RFAs we have.
Wait, I got a question for Rob. Since Rob Blake went out and said it, hey, we're gonna pick up toughness. What would you package, like serious deal? Would you package from the Kings to get Tom Wilson? Seriously,
whatever they want.
But just throw a serious little offer out there. Because what if that's who they go after? Vetchlin's getting older. It might be time for them to start rebuilding over there.
You could throw one of Dursey, Spence.
Yeah, you give them one of
Lemieux.
Our defensemen. Give them one of our defensemen prospects. Give when I say prospects, I mean Dursey, Bjornfoot, whatever. Give them their choice of prospect in our minors and give them a draft pick.
That happens to buy a Wilson Kings jersey that day.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he already has it made, Rod. You just don't understand.
I actually
it's in his shopping cart.
I wear a Los Angeles Kings Wilson jersey.
Yeah,
number 43.
Yeah. It's like he probably had a Lucic jersey before we acquired Lucic back in the day.
People think my last name's Wilson.
Are you like a cousin? Is that what it is? You guys are so good looking together. They think you're a cousin.
You're so sweet. Before we go on about things, and I don't know if this is a farewell, but if they do end up not coming back, Edler and Mata. I know Mata had his ups and downs with the fans and whatnot. Edler and Mata played. I think they earned their money with the Kings. I thought they did well enough to where their contracts justified the way they played. Two bigger left-handed defensemen, European, Swedish, Finnish.
From the nether regions. Yep.
Yeah. And
I was very critical, obviously, of Mata.
Yeah.
I thought I made a mental note, so I'm glad you brought it up when we were watching it. He played really well in the playoffs. I think he played well down the stretch, but maybe he did, make a boneheaded error that resulted in a goal, or a boneheaded error or something. But from my memory, he was pretty consistent out there and doing well. So, totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Like Edler, I thought played great the whole season. Honestly, I would bring him back.
There's a chance the Kings keep one of them, but they're definitely not going to keep both.
And just for some listeners out there that maybe aren't geeks enough to really know whose contracts have expired and all that stuff. But obviously Dustin Brown's has, and he's retiring. But Andres Athanasiou, Martin Furk, TJ Tynan, Edler Mata, I already said. Troy Stetcher, who was worth the draft pick, the 2 goals that he scored in the playoffs, 100% worth the draft pick. Yeah. Kept us in games, right? But Austin Strand and Christian Wolanin are both unrestricted as well. That's a lot of defense going bye-bye.
For sure.
And it's not necessarily that we need to keep some of those guys, because we still have our top 6.
Yeah, plus we're adding Clark too, potentially.
It depends on how bad his injury was, right?
This has a potential to be a very exciting offseason.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I want to say this is like, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this might be a very important point in the Kings rebuild, because it's like the decisions they make this year, where they spend their money, could really impact if this team is going here or going to stay flat.
and all those guys that I just mentioned, I think they're good enough to go and find work in other organizations. Those are all quality,
For sure.
quality hockey players, and I wish them the best. So
Yeah, they showed it this season. They could definitely be your 6th, 7th, 8th defenseman, and if they play 40 games, they're not going to kill you. Like they're not going to be Cale Makar out there, but they're going to be serviceable.
Did you guys catch Mike Rupp today talking about the Kings? Anybody see that?
He does it. He on his Twitter, he does an obituary for the teams that have lost, and so he'll run down, he'll throw out the names and all that other stuff.
So he jumped on the Kings today, and he was like, "Look out for this team next year." He's very excited about our D-core too. He was super hype on the Kings.
Thanks, Mike Rupp, but he kind of did that for all the teams. It was nothing special.
Right.
And
Yeah, it feels better when he does it for the Kings or anybody does.
It was special because it was about the Kings this time.
right.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, you're used to being a Kings fan over your lifetime. People just constantly shitting on the organization until they won the Stanley Cups, and then they won the Cups, and then they kind of just went into the proverbial black hole. And so, yeah, it's good to see them get some recognition. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And,
other than being a layup in an AHL team.
right. Well, speaking of which, that's what I was going to talk about.
That was like, I saw a Biz or whatever. That's who we were referring to. He's like, that was all this like.
Biz was joking. That was all.
He was not joking.
That was a troll.
He was, because
I don't give a shit if he says he
was.
was.
A week before that, and he just was gushing about the Kings' ability to draft and develop players and whatnot, which I agree with to some extent. Definitely over the last, since Lombardi was GM, and I think it still continues to this day. But no, I was caught off guard by it at first too. But then, like when I heard him talking about it, I do think he was saying that just to troll.
He was 100% a troll, because him and Whitney have that bet.
Blah blah blah. He said it. He said it, and then he realized he said it because he's a moron. I'll use his words. He's a.
Do you know what tongue in cheek
muppet.
means? It's totally what he said was totally tongue in cheek. 100%.
No, hell no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
He's not smart enough to do tongue in cheek like that. He
That's their
sat
whole
there
show.
and said it, and then when he realized he said it, he goes, "Ooh." I'll tell you what he's smart enough to do was he played it off well enough to guys like you, Darren, that are believing that. He goes, "No, I was just kidding. I was just kidding." He wasn't kidding. He keeps saying this team's good. This team good. He has no clue.
Well, I'll agree with you that I don't think that he can keep his thoughts on one track. So I think that's kind of who he is just kind of emotional, reactive. Both of them are like that. But, yeah, I think he was kind of going to the mindset of pump the tires of the Oilers sort of thing.
He said, "Hey, I'm just kidding." And literally 15 seconds later, he says Dallas Stars are better than the Los Angeles Kings. You can't sit there and say he was kidding then. He threw another jab right there. It's like, what the all right.
I disagree, Rob, is because I don't watch them a ton, but like over the last 6 months I have, or this season, I kind of, when COVID, I just kind of stopped paying attention to him. But he gushes about the organization quite a bit. So I don't know. I mean, like, I was kind of caught off guard when like he said that. I was like, what an idiot. But I mean, at the same time, when he says that, like, he's not like necessarily wrong. Like, they're not an AHL team, but the Kings had a lot of unproven players that,
I mean, half of our roster had 0 games of playoff experience.
That brings me up to a point, Joe, where especially if you're a former NHL player, you can go about things so much better. If you don't want to step on toes, if you don't want to call guys out, you can be positive about the Edmonton Oilers. You can sit there and say, hey, they're good this, they're good that. You don't have to sit there and say the Kings are bad. You don't have to call them an AHL team, especially with
that's
guys.
the extreme, though, Rob. That's why he's calling them an AHL team, is the shock value of to get him right.
Just shock value.
He wants your reaction right now. That's what he wants.
Exactly.
That's how he gets his clicks. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't. I mean, like I said, I was caught off guard by it, but like, whatever. He's.
He 100% was rooting for the Kings in that series. He was wearing the Kings jersey every time there's a Kings Oilers game. He was
rooting for him because of the bet.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I understand all that. I understand all. He wanted them to win for the bet, not because he actually thinks the Kings are worth a shit.
But I think he's trying to say the opposite. I think he's trying to say that Edmonton couldn't even.
He's got you fooled, Darren.
I don't think
he's got you fooled.
Me as well, I guess. I don't know. I'm not loyal to him or like what he says. Like I take it at face value. I do think he's a meathead and he's stream of conscious, which is why I like him. Is just he'll say whatever creeps up into his mind. But
you're talking about Rob, or are you talking about Biz?
I'm talking about Biz. Yeah, all right. You just threw me for a loop there because I wanted to make a joke, but I had nothing.
You talking about Rob Nasty or Biz Nasty?
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Who gives a shit? I mean, Who gives a fuck what Biz Nasty says anyway?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But
I do, Joe. It's life. Hockey's life. The Kings are life.
It is, but the thing is, like, you're ignoring. Like, I've seen like countless clips over the last 6 months where he's like, this team, this organization. So he says, like, honestly, I'm kind of surprised at your take on it, because the amount that he like strokes off the Kings organization for his time playing in the minors, that really is where it comes from. And like, that's why it kind of like makes my heart warm, is like, he's like, I want a championship in the AHL with this team and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're, he says a lot of nice stuff that is coming from a place of emotion versus like reality, right? If that makes sense. Like, he's not being objective. He's like, oh, the Kings do this, this, and this. Yeah, whatever. We'll end it there. Leave it at that. But
yeah, I just haven't heard all. You're saying he gushes a lot. I don't hear it a lot. Maybe I don't listen.
I'll find the clips and I'll send it to you if I can.
Yep.
And the RA guy, he loves the Kings.
Well, because he had money on him.
Well, I know, but again, yeah.
I think he bet his car on the Kings.
This is all fun stuff, though.
Right?
Yes.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love the banter. You
Yeah.
know, that's why I like watching them. Like, it's just they're
Right.
talking about hockey,
Well, see,
and it's just
but
it's real shit.
That's my whole point. Is Witt talks shit about the Kings, and I don't have a beef with any of that, because he wanted the Kings to lose, and he's all,
Right.
we're going to win.
Played on the Ducks and the Oilers, though.
Right, exactly. So
there's no skin in the game.
Totally 100% respect that. And for someone that played in the Kings organization, just even if you're just kidding and have some foul words towards the organization, kidding or not, I just didn't think was right.
I disagree. Like, who gives a shit, right? I know you. So.
Either way, he's winning, because we just spent 10 minutes talking about him. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Freaking
We
won.
just got 10 minutes talking about a pigeon muppet.
Son of a.
It's called the troll. Hats off to Dustin Brown. Let's do that.
To Dustin. Cheers.
Love you, Jeff. Dustin. You're my guy.
To Brown. Always my guy. All right, Kings fans. That was our show for today. And as always, go Kings, go.
Go Kings. And Flames. And Panthers.
Go Sutter.
Yeah, go Sutter.
Go Trevor Lewis.
Go former Kings.
There you go, former Kings.